Back on the show now is UFC lightweight Joe Solecki, who will be back in action at UFC Vegas 69 on February the 18th when he meets Benoit Saint-Denis. Joe, how are you?
I'm good, man. It's good to be talking with you again. Just between sessions here, hanging out, doing good.
Very good. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Just first want to start off. I know you're a big family man. How was the holiday season with your family? What'd you guys do?
It was good, man. It was great. Yeah. My daughter's two now, so she kind of knows what's going on, with like opening presents and stuff. And it took her about 5 hours to open, an hour per gift. So it was a blast. It was low key and it was great, man. It's fun to, it's really fun to watch all that stuff with the family and, watch her interact, and she gets to see her grandparents, and it was just great. We were super blessed. It was fun to watch, man. Everybody's doing good. And yeah, really blessed.
Love to hear that. What was the big present that she wanted? I'm sure there was something.
Oh man. So we got her a little trampoline for the house, which she does like inside, like a little toddler's one. But I found this bike online, like gently used. I was super excited. Like they could just balance on at that age. I was like, she's gonna love this because they have them at her little daycare school she goes to, and like she's gonna love this. So that was the last thing we bought out. We got her helmet out. She put her helmet on, and then she just decided she did not like it. She took her helmet off. I know ride this. I know bike, and shoved it to the ground. I was like, this is my Clark Griswold moment. All right. And like for every day since Christmas, I've been like, hey, do you think you want to try that, awesome little bike? And she goes, no, no bike. I know ride bike. And I'm like, all right, there's my big gift. So it was a flop, but we'll try again next year.
Yeah, well, that's right. There's always next year. Well, glad to hear things are going well for you on the family and my man. And the last time that we did see you actually in action was all the way back in June. So I expected that. I mean, I know you had a grappling fight that you did, but I expected to maybe see you in the octagon before now. Is there a reason why there was such a layoff?
Yeah. So in the past, I've had these long layoffs, and it's been like nothing came down the pipe. But this time I was actually offered Saint Denis in France, and I was still hurt from the last one. So when I did that not stupid, it was a great opportunity, but that grappling match was stupid on my part. I was still really messed up from the fight. It was only like 2 weeks after, but I was able to get a shot, an injection to like kind of mask the pain. And it kind of helped because we just bought a house. So I kind of needed to do a little something to cover some repairs. But yeah, so as soon as that wore off, like a week later, it was like back to square one after the fight. So it was like I'd say 6 to 8 weeks of that. So I don't know if I tore my abdomen or if I tore the cartilage because it was more center based than it was like my ribs. And I was training all along, but I couldn't do a lot of things. Pretty much any grappling or anything I could drill, but it was just a pain in the neck or the ribs. But yeah, so I had to actually say no to that. So that would have been put me back in quite a bit sooner. That would have been 3 months after the last one, which would have been awesome. I thought it would have been cool to get the opportunity to fight, the Frenchman in France. Pretty cool. He's a big deal there, with his background and everything. But so yeah, now we're fighting in February. So and that's kind of what I told my manager and the UFC. I was like, oh, you know, have a ton of respect for him. We love the matchup, tough guy, good fight. If we could, book it for a later date. I don't know if they took that into account or if it just lined up again, but now we're booked. So yeah, back at it.
Well, back at the Apex again, it seems like it's a reoccurring theme for you. Are you a little bummed about that? I mean, obviously you talk about fighting in France. That would have been really cool, but are you hoping that here in 2023, you're going to have the opportunity to fight at different venues with a lot of screaming fans in attendance?
Yeah, my big concern for this one is just I really want to get my wife there because it's been since December 2019. So this is my fifth fight or sixth fight without her there, which is crazy because she never missed one before. So hopefully I'll be able to get her in. But you know, I love fighting in front of a crowd and seeing different places that I wouldn't normally go to. So that is a cool perk to the job, and I do look forward to that. And I think all the shows will be on the road after that first quarter. So it's coming back. But man, if it was just me and my coaches and Saint Denis and his coaches and no one was going to know the outcome, I'm still getting on that plane and going to do it. I was just saying that this morning to one of my teammates. And so, it is exciting and something to look forward to. But Apex, packed out arena, a gym with nobody there, it's competition, and I really, really love competition. I think that's something that maybe early on in the UFC, you're so worried about all the other noise and articles coming out and betting odds and all that garbage, that you get away from that. But it really is about competition, and I think also one of the cool things that's kind of cool is he's coming from another country. He's a big deal where he's from. French Special Forces. Like, that's a really cool thing that I get to get on a plane and fly across the country and fight a guy that's getting on a plane coming across the world, and we're just going to test each other. I think it's pretty cool. So the rest is all novelty. It'll be cool to get back in an arena, but I got my three corners who are with me, and hopefully my wife, and that's all we need.
Very good. Well, we're all excited to see you back in the octagon. I do want to touch real quickly on your promotion, All In Grappling. I believe your second show is going to be March 18th, if I'm not mistaken. So just tell me, how did the first show go for you, and what are your expectations here for the second show and moving forward?
Yeah, it was a blast. It was kind of nerve wracking because you start to plan this, and with jujitsu tournaments, at least what I was telling myself, but what I was pretty sure is like, I'm like, the registrations don't really spike till like 2 weeks out because people travel and have jobs, and they're not full-time competitors. So it was like very low. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna be sitting in a gym by myself and eating this one. And it was not that at all. It was a packed house. It was kind of crazy, and then we were having the super fights at night. So after the regular tournament for like, men, women, kids, beginners and intermediate competitors during the day, we're like, well, surely this isn't going to happen at night. Like, those people are spent, they're going home. And then at night, it was like an influx. And the thing I kept saying to my wife is, it reminded me of the end scene of It's a Wonderful Life, where people just come and keep, I mean, people weren't putting money, but buying tickets. And I'm like, man, like, this is crazy. Like, we're going to have to shut this down with the fire marshal. So it was a great turnout. Everyone had an awesome time, I really think. And it was great. So we're really excited for the second one. And yeah, March 18th. So it'll be a month after my fight. And now that we've kind of got our legs under us, I got some people that are helping me as well too. I don't have to space it out as much. Before, I needed like 8 weeks after my fight because I'm like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. But now it's pretty self-explanatory. I've got all the equipment, I got everything going, and the little bit like matchmaking, the super fights and stuff, I can do that between sessions in camp. It actually, breaks up the monotony a little bit. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited for it, and hopefully we have a great turnout again.
Very good. Do you have any big names as far as super fights go, or any household names that the average MMA fan out there might know for your upcoming event?
So we're hoping to have maybe one this go. I'm not too sure yet. So it'll be more of a jiu-jitsu guy, that kind of a friend of a friend who I train with a little bit too. But I'm not sure yet. But the goal is to get a little more funding and a little more, get a couple more shows, get our legs under us, and then try to get in touch with somebody like Flow Grappling or UFC Fight Pass, something, and then that would bring in. I think first we need proof of concept, which we had in person last time. Now we need proof of production and proof of all that. I think the next couple steps, we start putting one or two, three, start building a little nest egg to start paying some of the fighters, and then we definitely are. I think we're a well connected group here, between Salty Dog and Jim O, and we've got some guys that we could probably get here, for a pretty decent price and put on a great show. So if not this one, then in the future. But yeah, we're definitely looking into it.
Okay, very good. Well, you talked about Salty Dog Jiu-Jitsu and Jim O. Tell me a little bit about how camp is going thus far. I mean, we're still a month and a half away from your upcoming fight with Benoit, but how have things been going so far?
Yeah, it's going great. More of what we've always done. As far as with the teams and the blend, and it's been great. I've got my team, Salty Dog Jiu-Jitsu, my home base, Wilmington, North Carolina, and I've been spending. So I get the best of both worlds, right? With Saint-Denis especially, we know he's fought at 170, big strong clinch guy, good wrestler, good ground game, but just physically imposing. So I've got John Salter. I can't think of somebody better who's gonna big brother me and kind of and bully me around and make me used to that, where you can go, man, it's not going to be any worse than this. So always a staple in my camp, but especially grappling him for this one and wrestling. So I've been spending Monday, Tuesday in Wilmington, and then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday up here at GMO. So a little more than in the past, because we kind of knew this was coming, depending on matchups and stuff. As far as having to spend more time here, we have a stable to pull from, as far as guys that give me that good left-handed look and somebody that can kind of do what Saint Denis does. So spend a little more time here with Jeff Jimmo, and then toward the end of camp, probably end up shifting to almost the entire week for the last month or so. So that's been huge too, is getting that time with Jeff Jimmo. He's just a genius. So it really is. In the couple weeks we've been doing that so far, I was coming up beforehand for Scott Holzman's camp and stuff with Guida, because he's primarily a grappler. So really working on some new stuff and getting time with everybody, and that now the focus is on me with Jeff, and it's been amazing. He's so intelligent. I mean, he doesn't really put himself out there a lot, so unless one of us is talking about him, it's not going to be something that's talked about a lot. But from every area, from putting everything together in MMA, but also the strength and conditioning, nutrition. He's a true genius. So the more time I can spend with him, the better. And I really am kind of seeing it already this far in camp. I feel the best I've ever felt.
That's fantastic to hear. You did mention John Salter, so I got to ask you about him. Is there any rumblings about an upcoming fight for John? I haven't heard anything as of yet.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm pretty certain, but I think just waiting for the actual pen to hit the paper as far as stuff coming through the email. But yeah, I think here soon we should be hearing something for him, which is exciting too. So it'll be a good start to the new year for all of us. And then we have Jamie Pickett out of our camp at Salty Dog, who's going to fight Bo Nickel, so they can rebook that for March, I think 2 weeks after me. So it's just nice to have that intensity. Everybody's ramping up, and everybody's kind of on the same trajectory of something coming in the coming months. And you get out of that because it can get tough. Yeah, at the holidays sometimes guys check out. So if you're like, I'm an all year guy, and so is John, and so sometimes what can happen is if we all don't line up on the same schedule, some guys may be, you just kind of coasting and trying to stay injury free, which is smart. But this has been not that time. It's been that time where everybody's, rearing to go. So it's a good time right now. I'm really excited.
Objectively speaking, how do you see that fight with Jamie Pickett and Bo Nickel playing out?
Yeah, Jamie's my teammate and friend, so I'm gonna have confidence in him, and I think if he does what he's capable to do, he could, shock everybody, and I think he might even shock himself. He's just got to go out there and fight Bo, and that's it's gonna be a big arena, it's gonna be packed out, and it's a guy with a lot of hype, so you have to see him for what he is, which is a person. Obviously an incredibly skilled athlete, um, but I don't think as far as mixed martial arts, like he hasn't been, and maybe it's because he's so great, but he hasn't been tested yet, and you've got to be willing to stand there in the middle and be that guy to test him. And I really think in the headspace he's in, Jamie is willing to do that, and that's where he can really, maybe pull the dog out of Bo a little bit and make it a fight. We can't have an agreement to go out and wrestle. And if he does that and a fight unfolds, I think he's got a great chance.
Yeah, can't wait to see that fight. And another fight I just wanted to ask you about real quick. There was some rumored talks about a potential John Salter Dalton Rasta matchup in the past. Have you heard John mention anything about that fight? And if it comes to fruition, how do you like that matchup for John?
I mean, I'm going to take John against anybody. I think he's got the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu to put anybody down. I mean, even look what he did with Gegard in that first round and first half of the second round where, he had him dangerous. They asked him backstage, like, why didn't you try to get up? And he was like, because you're going to submit me. Like, that's high praise from, so that guy felt it and didn't like what he felt, So, yeah, Dalton's a stud, up and comer. I want to say, I don't want to say the wrong thing because I can't remember. There was one where maybe that was Edlin originally. I can't remember. There was one where like a contract never came through. And John was like, yeah, I never even heard about this fight. And then that guy actually got a contract and signed it. And he's like, no one ever told me about this. But that might have been Edlin. I can't remember. Or maybe I don't remember. Honestly, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I mean, they've sent more up and comers his way, and he's passed those tests every single time. So, yeah, I'm never going to pick against John.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him back in the Bellator cage as well. I'll just have to ask him the nitty gritty whenever it is that I interview him next. As far as the 155 division goes here in the UFC, I mean, a lot of people feel like it's the best that there is. It's so deep, and we have a really interesting title fight around the corner, UFC 284 in Australia. Islam Makhachev, Alexander Volkanovski. Just give me your early prediction for that one, Joe. How do you see that fight going?
Man, originally, I mean, I love Volkanovski. I'm like a huge fan of watching him fight. He's one of my favorites. But recency bias too. You're like, oh, he's gonna get destroyed. And then you start hearing people bring up the fact of how short he is and that his legs are very short. And you're like, man, that's actually a great point. Like, it's very hard to hold on to guys with short, stubby legs. So like the leg bundle kind of goes out of the way. Like when you think of Habib, that like step over position holding the legs, you're not gonna hold him down there. He does seem to find a way to just get up, like, which is kind of a joke in grappling, just get up. But like he does do that. And his striking is incredible. His fight IQ is through the roof. So I think he's got a good chance, but it's so hard to pick against what we just saw with Islam. He looked, undeniable in that last fight. So if I had to bet, which we're not allowed to, and I don't, but I would pick Islam, but it wouldn't shock me either way. Or if at least it became like a very great fight, or even like a rivalry where it could become like a trilogy or something, wouldn't shock me at all.
Okay. Yeah, I cannot wait for that fight.
Me either.
Yeah, man. I mean, the whole MMA world is clamoring for that one. Let's dive into your upcoming fight again, February 18th, UFC Vegas 69. You're taking on Benoit Saint-Denis. He's 2-1 in the UFC. He's got 2 finishes. The lone loss was a UD loss. Did you take anything from that loss to Elijah Zaleski? Is there anything that you picked up on that maybe you're going to be able to utilize in this fight to get yourself over the top and get a win?
Well, I've said it about certain opponents in the past is knowing who's in front of you as far as what they're made of. You know, everybody at this level is tough. That's a prerequisite in the UFC. But I mean, the toughness he displayed in that fight, that was arguably an injustice that was done against him. It wasn't good for his health and his career for sure. But to sit in there and take that damage was, I mean, you show that this is a guy that you're going to have to put him out. Whether it's a choke or strikes. So that's huge. Just knowing that is huge. I'm a different fighter than that guy that fought him. So especially at a different weight class, you don't want to take away too many things and say, I'm going to try to be like that, that style or anything like that. But I think with my coaches watching him and I'll dive in a little deeper here in the next week or so. But I fought on the same card as Saint Denis and watched him after that Paris fight. So I was just curious because I was supposed to fight him. And I think there's spots where I fit in really, really well. We know he's physically imposing. He's going to be strong. He's an aggressive guy. But there's something about that I think will fit in very well because I like meeting guys in the middle, even in the striking and then the grappling, of course. So I think it gives me a great opportunity to show what I can do. I think De Silva was like that a little bit. But I think, with the offensive grappling, it can really make for an exciting fight. Sometimes it becomes not an exciting fight, but I think the way he grapples, the way I grapple, if it hits the floor, it'll be a very exciting contrast to styles where I think he's going to try to be, wanting to keep me in one place and I'm going to be trying to, move and get where I want to go. And I really think I can. So it's just really, really exciting to have all these tools that we're working on and see a guy where I think this is the time where it could all come together. So really, really excited to just show the fighter I've become, man. These fights have been so helpful in my own growth and development. It's kind of crazy. So you see certainly getting dropped in the last fight, 15 seconds in, like, that's a bad thing in the moment, but in the payoff a couple months later, like your coaches are talking about how aggressively and how much more comfortable you are. And, oh, you're never getting tired. Like the worst has happened. Like it's not that bad. Like I suffered from being a perfectionist, very, very much in my career. So, if I get touched once, my instinct would be maybe to shoot or to, I don't even want to lose one frame of a fight. When you get in there with someone like De Silva and you're just trading, you're in that third round, even the Gordon fight a little bit, you're like, man, you're going to have to get touched to touch him. Like, that's just how this game works. So that level of comfort, I've gone through the roof on that level of comfort as far as like understanding that a fight has to unfold, So I think that could make this an awesome, awesome challenge. And it could really make me a problem for him because I think when he comes out and throws those big shots and backs guys to the fence, they're content to do that. I'll stand there, So yeah, I think it's a great matchup for us.
Do you anticipate this fight going the distance, or do you feel like you're going to be able to get him out of there?
Man, I always plan for 3 rounds like that, like 3 hard rounds, and just see it going. Like worst case scenario, having to come back from adversity, having to get out of him taking my back or dropping me, whatever it might be. But there's always going to be openings. It's can we capitalize? So I've hit guys with clean shots and they've never taken a step back, and I've hit guys with little grazing shots and they've wobbled to the fence. So a lot of it just determines on the time and place and the guy in front of you. So there's definitely opportunities that we see where, of course, and I'm sure he sees them in me where he's like, I think I can finish him there. But I'm always anticipating, getting my hand raised at the 3 hard rounds. It's just the only way I can go in because, everything else after that is a bonus. But especially with him and seeing the damage he's taken and how durable he can be, we've got to know that we've got to win. We've got to win more frames of this fight than he does because you don't want to go out there just saying, I'm going to hit him, he's going to go down, or I'm going to catch his neck. What if it doesn't? Then you're swinging for home runs. So, no, we're going out there to win a 3-round decision and finish them along the way.
Can't wait to see you back in there, Joe. It's always must-see TV when you step inside of the octagon, my man. Great talking to you as always. Again, Joe Solecki will be back in action February the 18th at UFC Vegas 69. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor as always. Please tell people where they can follow you on social media. If you have anyone to thank, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. You always kind of give me that coverage, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, they can find me at Joe Solecki at All In Grappling as well. Look for that on March 18th. Just want to shout out, my team, Salty Dog Jiu Jitsu, and we talked about John Salter has been, huge in my growth as an athlete and as a person and a friend. Um, Everyone there that helps me, Nick Maz, Wyatt Hopkins, some guys behind the scenes that are just stepping up and being good drilling partners and all kinds of things. My kickboxing coach who, I spent a lot of time with between fights because now we're traveling. I'm still working with him, a couple days a week, but Alan Branch, another huge part of my growth lately. Just really has a real tactical approach to the stand-up portion of fighting. And you find a lot of guys in boxing gyms and stuff that just kind of give you a combo or tell you this is how you got to do it. And they don't really give you that why as far as, explaining it. He really is a good teacher. So been a big help as well. My boxing coach, Chris Gow, and everyone at Fitness Edge. But the big shout out to everybody at Jimmo as well. Jeff Jimmo. Titus Moore's fighting in 2 weeks. He's a left-hander that's been helping me out a lot since, Denise is southpaw. Zach DeLeon, Paul Carson, Tom Lane, all those guys, good wrestlers, good fighters. And it's just been huge, man. I appreciate all of them. And of course, my wife, she's holding it down. Of course, when I go away more falls on her shoulders. So I just want to shout her out because she's got a lot to handle at home and she takes it in stride and is happy to do it. And it's just one of the biggest parts of my success. So I'm just so grateful for her. So yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate you having me on.